trash. Let's
You're
see how that
goddamn
works
right.
out for you, buddy.
You're
Let's
goddamn
see.
right I'm gonna talk trash. You can't say that shit about today's music. What does that even mean?
Have you
Hold
listened
on,
to today's
chat. We're having
music?
a
Oh
conversation
my
here.
God. Blah, blah, blah,
And
blah.
I know that
Poor
you're full of
music.
shit because I know that you enjoy music. I know that you enjoy today's music. I know that you look at things I send you. So don't tell me this crap, you
Oh,
curmudgeonly bastard.
let me go ahead and stop you right there. Everything you send me goes straight into the circular file. I just wasn't going to tell you that because, well,
Here's
that's
how
the way
everybody knows you're old as shit. You said circular file. Most of our audience doesn't even know what the fuck that is.
As for listening to modern music, that I do
really
not do.
underestimating the average age of the demographic of this audience.
Yeah, I think
you're
so.
probably true. You're probably
But as
true.
far as listening to regular music, modern day music, no, I don't. I absolutely don't.
Yeah, the problem is you don't listen to the good stuff.
It's true. I actually don't listen to a lot of music in general. I have stuff that I have saved onto my computer that I listen to, but
So
it's all old stuff.
How the fuck would you know about today's music? if
Every
you
time I
don't-
turn on the radio, it's nothing but
I'm
noise.
not talking about the
Noise!
shit they play on the radio. It's garbage. You have to look at the stuff that's not on the fucking radio. You have to go out and search for the bands. You have to listen to rendered ghost shows so you can, find new bands that are playing and everything else.
You
'Cause
vastly overestimate the amount of free time I have.
things that take you 5 minutes. It's you know what?
Oh,
It's
wait a
just
minute.
so
Have you
fucking
seen me
weird.
on computers? I will assure you that it is not 5 minutes. It would not be 5 minutes.
So clearly, you just need people to give you like a playlist recommendation. So
Well, that's what
just
Paul
curate
does,
stuff.
but every time he
Well,
always
that's
recommends
Paul.
these weird things, and I'm like,
Oh,
I don't
oh,
know,
no.
man.
I will hook you up with the weird like, why are we listening to this? Because so I guarantee that there is a Venn diagram between music that Paul listens to and music that Veronica listens to, and there's a good
There's some overlap.
There's some overlap.
She loves Lamb of God. She's a big fan.
I've heard some. Once upon a time, I think. But driving in the car this morning, it was a steady diet of K-pop. But my daughter was in charge, so it was K-pop. And then when we headed home, she's like, "What are you gonna listen to?" And I was like, Jim Steinman. Go put on Bat Out of Hell." She's like, "Wait, what?" I'm like, "Go put on Bat Out of Hell," because I may or may not know all the words to both albums by heart, because I've been listening to that since birth. So I saw Meatloaf in concert on the Storytellers tour in my junior year of college. I may have spent book money that I was supposed to use for textbooks to buy concert tickets.
Didn't he just recently pass?
He did. He did pass, and he did a show at the Hard Rock Live in '99. It's 98 or 99. And I had front row balcony seats, so you could see the whole stage, and it was marvelous. He just has an amazing voice, and Jim Steinman wrote amazing lyrics and music, and it was great. It was fantastic. So
Well, that's cool.
But
So,
I
yeah.
really do wish I could find more music like the good hair metal stuff, because I enjoyed that kind of music. I did.
You and Justin never had taste. Still, and you obviously still don't.
I like disco. What can I say?
Oh my God! I've lost all respect
Now,
to you, and I
now
didn't have
think
much
about
to begin
think
with.
about the age that I was in. Disco had its heyday when I was in high school, so of course that was something that had an influence on me.
So you
course it
love the
was.
nightlife. You
I
like to
do
boogie on the
indeed.
disco round.
I do indeed. I love that music.
Yeah, that was like my toddler jam.
All right. Look for the button and ban Rick Shaw right now.
I knew it was going to come to this, so let me bring this to an abrupt fucking halt. Howdy, folks, and welcome to another episode of the Dev Robot Society. I'm Paul E. Cooley. Joining me today, as always, Veronica Jaguar and Terry Mixon. And The reason why we started this is I purposely picked this fight just to see how far Terry would take it.
Oh, I'll take a fight anywhere we can go. You
I
know
wanted
me,
to
I'm not
see
afraid.
how many curmudgeonly, obscene, out of touch statements he could make in like 2 minutes. And wow, did he not? He did not disappoint.
Did this rank? Am I still on the scoreboard?
I don't know. You didn't say anything about, you got to go and grab your Walkman and pop in your cassette tape.
Sadly, I never actually had a Walkman because I was too poor at that time to afford one.
I can't remember
So,
when I got my first one. Probably when I was 13, maybe 14. I don't remember. But I had a reason to have one. Was I was playing trumpet and would record and then had stuff to play back and practice and all this other garbage. So it made sense. But
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I know I had a Walkman at some point, but the cassettes were more for language learning because the teacher would record a bunch of like kid stories and then give them back, and we would have to listen to them. So
But mixtapes.
Oh, I still have some.
Mixtapes, romance.
You know, when in Mystery Men, they had on the villain side, they had the Disco Boys. I think we need to bring the Disco Boys back for their own spin-off.
You know, it's funny. Brett and I were talking about this, and he mentioned that he made a comment that disco is EBM, was the first EBM, electric body music.
I can buy that.
And I really hadn't considered that, but if I go back and I listen to Boy Harsher and some of the other bands, I listen to it, even Front 242, yeah, it kind of was. It kind of is. So, you know, when you say you hate disco, you got to be kind of careful, I guess. But still, I'm not here to yuck somebody else's yum. I'm here to be a curmudgeon along with Terry. We're trying to out curmudgeon one another. But that's beside.
Is that what we were doing? I didn't realize this was a competition. I'll slow down a little bit so that you can catch up.
Dude, I'm just not aged enough to pull off the curmudgeon thing. I need to get a little older.
You need more hair for that.
I shall sit and observe. I am not refereeing a damn thing.
No. Not the same thing. Not the same thing. Donna Summer could sing. And could actually enunciate and not hide her words behind mumbling and effects. As much as I love Boy Harsher, it's a fact. But
enunciation? Why?
I know I can't even enunciate. How dare I call out other people?
No, Mr. Provolone. That's not how, Mr. Provolone. That's not how you say that. You must learn to enunciate.
Wait a minute. Nobody told a ball joke. He said I needed more hair. I have plenty of hair. I just got it recently.
I didn't mean your back. I'm talking on your face.
Yeah. On my face? Or on my head?
Not on your head. You got plenty on your head. You need more on your face.
You were trying to say I needed to grow out the beard. Okay,
that's right.
All right. I got it. Gray hair does not make you curmudgeon. It just means you're falling apart. Terry,
I'll buy that.
In the mirror.
Yeah, there's nothing left but gray. There's hardly any of the actual real hair color left.
Well, that notwithstanding, let's do the small talk bullshit and catch up. V, what the hell have you been up to?
Let's see. Working on script prep and auditioning, and although good note, I got out of jury duty this week. I was supposed to show up for jury duty on Thursday. I went to the website, typed in the info. They're like, "Your services are not required at this time." I'm like, yes, I have a day to work, which I would rather do by myself.
I'm glad you've picked me for this jury duty because I can spot a guilty person just like that.
Oh.
I know this is just like cattle call, put 100 people in a room, and maybe we'll need you, maybe we don't, and the coffee's terrible. So yeah,
that's what it's like in a small county. I hated having to go to Harris County. That sucked. Having to drive all the way downtown and do all that bullshit rather than the Monkey County where I just have to like go up the road.
No, this was. I mean, Brevard County's not tiny by any stretch of the imagination. It's just it would have been for civil court stuff, and it's just it's not that I would mind if the whole process actually get started didn't take 6 hours, that'd be great. But whatever. This is why I work in audiobooks. But and then the weekend is full of bowling. I've been driving kids to bowling alleys and doing that. But hey, I witnessed some awesome. My daughter got 5 strikes in a row twice. 2 games. She bowled 6 games and did pretty well.
Awesome.
And I sat there and highlighted scripts the entire time.
That sounds like so much fun.
Yeah. What about y'all? What have y'all been up to?
Sounds like Terry's actually been doing something.
I'm almost done with this book.
Ooh.
I hate you so much right now.
I finished reading the last 2 chapters before the show. I've got to when we're done, I'll go ahead and run them through Grammarly and put them together and send them off this evening. So I'm almost finished.
No, JR. There were no pitchers that threw any balls. There was a kid, I think the first or second game of the 6, did bowl a 300 on the other side of the house. So that was always fun. Oh, yeah. It's always fun watching like some 17, 18-year-old like get their first 300 because then the entire bowling alley, and this is a big one, just erupts into, applause and cheering and all that. So it's pretty cool.
That's
It
awesome.
must be nice to be involved in like a community of people and know people and go to things like that and have to socialize as opposed to
I don't have to socialize. I sit there and I tell my daughter to give kids dirty looks if they don't, obey the rules. I'm not kidding. There's like lane courtesy. There's some sports like golf and tennis and bowling where your etiquette is just as important as your skill. And one of the things is that you don't walk up on someone when they're starting to bowl. So, younger kids don't always appreciate this, but if you're at like a state tournament, I'm sorry, I'm going.
She's Florida by way of Kentucky.
Yeah, so it might slide just a bit if I start talking really fast and I start relaxing. Don't worry, I can adopt my mother's jersey and pretty quickly. But if my feeling is that if you're in a competitive environment, you should know the rules. That's a pretty easy one to know. But there was a slightly younger bowler trying to come up behind my daughter. She was trying to bowl, and she stopped and held the ball and stood there and gave this poor child the fiercest side eye ever until he stopped and went, "Oh, sorry," and stepped back. And then she bowled. So if people aren't going to help their kids learn the rules, I have no problem with my children
Correcting them.
Yes. No strong words were said, and quite frankly, she's
I
learning
have
how to be
shunned
assertive.
you. I shun you for your terrible etiquette. And then you bite
I
your
will
tongue.
smite you with my bowling ball.
Oh God! Please don't ever say that. Somebody's going to do that.
You really?
Shit.
You want her to throw the
Yeah.
14 pounds of composite and all that, right? No.
All right, Terry. So
Yeah,
I've lost
sorry. I'm
track.
gonna be
Which
quiet.
book is this you've almost finished?
Book 9 in the Last Hunter series.
Okay. You've got what, 3 more to go in that series?
It's going to be 15 total.
15 total. Okay. I keep losing count of how many you've got in this series.
I've got another year of writing on this to get there. I'm glad to get this one done because today is the due date, so I'm just right up on the due date. Losing 2 weeks while doing work on my room and work on these shelves just totally wrecked the time I was saving. So I haven't written on the Empire story for a couple of weeks, so I'll do that on Sunday. Get some done with that once I've played catch up.
Must be nice. I'm stalled, but
Yeah.
I'm stalled for a lot of reasons. Day job is picking up pretty hardcore, which is good because I can use the cash, but also really like the place. This kind of helps. But I've been working on getting other podcast stuff, clearing the decks and everything else. And today I had to pull the trigger on something that a couple of y'all have been yelling at me about for a while, which is getting the podcast to NAS. So I'm finally getting Shadow Publications, the DRS, and NAS so I can store things. And y'all that are subscribers and patrons, y'all helped. You more or less paid for this for last couple of months. So now I've got new storage on the way to hopefully alleviate the pain and suffering, because now I have only 60 gigabytes to deal with between now and when it shows up. And if y'all know what YouTube does to a hard drive, 60 gigs ain't much, especially when I'm now running a fleet of Docker images on this poor machine.
So you're rationing your gigs.
So thank you for that, and you help the podcast stay
You really
alive.
should go ahead and just cut back on how much porn you download and save some of that space.
No, if I actually saved my porn, I would need 32 terabyte drive. Well, actually, I can purchase those. This house will support that. I wasn't planning on going that big, and I have gigabyte fiber. That's a lot of porn, dude. That's a lot of porn.
The song says the internet is really, really great for porn.
Yeah, it's about the only thing it's good for.
I'll have to find that a link to that. And
is that a song?
In the Discord?
Yes, it is.
Oh, it's
like a Muppet song, isn't it? It's Muppet Light.
It's from the musical Avenue Q, which is an amazing blend.
Oh God.
Why are you godding this? It's marvelous. I've seen it on stage. It's great.
It's the street.
It is. It's the it's the street like light.
Yeah. It's not as dark and gritty.
It's not as grungy.
Oscar's World is really dirty and grungy.
Yeah, this isn't. This is like the street, but like CW rated.
That's horrifying on so many levels.
But that's like that's about the level of it.
Well, this is not exactly a clumsy segue, but since I said the NAS was paid for by the DRS Patreon and the Shadow Publications Patreon, it was time to bring up, what the hell is a Patreon? What the hell do you use it for? And how the hell do you get content, get money? Sounds simple, right? You just basically sign up for the thing, you start uploading content, and they all come to you. Is that how it works? It's not.
There needs to be passing along some information about it, providing content for them. Yeah, there's a give and take, but that's in a nutshell about how it works.
But you have to have content.
Yeah, you have to have content.
You have to have content.
So the thing is, when you're looking at doing Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee or Ko-Fi, those are the three that I use for Shadow Publications, and use two of those for DRS. You basically have to run it kind of like a website, and it has to have a good landing page. It's good to make a video so people can jump on there and see what your content is about. Speaking of, the three of us need to make a new one. And what'd you say?
Oh, good. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah,
I love being on camera.
We need to do one of those. Yeah. Oh, wait.
Wait.
So you need to have a message about what you're doing. It doesn't have to be glitzy or anything else, but yeah, Patreon is only fans for writers and podcasters. You are correct. Only the majority of us don't strip. The majority of us, I'm going to say all of us. I know one podcaster who did a chair dance. I'm going to say nothing more than that. I'll let you guess who. Anyway, the point is that you have to have, tell folks what it is you're doing. If you've got samples of it, that's real important too. I mean, for me as a podcaster, it's really easy to say, okay, well, here's a short story, the whole thing. You can listen to it and decide if my work is something you want to support. It's that simple. And now they have a deal where with Patreon, at least, you can give like 28 to 30 days of free content with that subscription. So if you've got lots of small things, you can basically give them a chance to kind of try out your wares and see if there's something they like. And then they can kind of, make up their mind as to what it is they want to do. There's a lot of different strategies for how to use it, and there's a lot of ways to use it incorrectly. I would say that my experience has been like, even with this podcast, I'm not going to be typical because we already had a fan base for here. We already had a fan base for Shadow Publications. The only thing I had to tackle brand new was YouTube. And that is still an ongoing process and will be for probably the rest of my existence. But the fact is, having the content there immediately got people coming. It was just a matter of having to provide good content, having to make it so it's easy to find, which Patreon can make it a pain in the ass to do that. And, tag everywhere, do all the tagging for what each of those posts is going to be, have 5 or 6 posts ready to go before you even open up to people. So they have a few things to look at and a few things to read. Do as many public posts as possible that don't require a subscription, because people read those. People who are looking for new work to patronize will read those, take a look at it, and decide if you're somebody that might be interesting for them to follow or to give their money to. So there's a lot of things that go on there that you can use to basically advertise your writing, your podcast, anything you want to do, and see if people want to tip you for it or whatever else. If nothing else, it means more people are getting eyes on and ears on what you're creating. And that's pretty much the whole thing is even more important than money. Well, my experience has been, which is interesting for creators, this is the really curious part. You'll find out that a lot of your patrons don't even read or engage with the special content.
It's true.
It's absolutely true.
So there's the regular content that you put out, and then there's your special. What do you mean by your special content?
Well, there's the subscription only content.
Okay.
Now I haven't checked my download statistics for the ebook or the audiobook that the patrons got for like an ancient trap to see how many folks downloaded that. But for the podcast episodes or things like that I put up there and I'm running a new serial, there's really not that many people listening to it. They're either waiting for it to finish or they're waiting for it to hit the public podcast. It's interesting.
Even with mine, I put out chapters of a book, and when the book is done, if it's my book alone, then I send them an ebook copy. But the number of people that are eligible to download that book is always about twice the number that actually do download it.
It's a weird. It's not a complaint. I'm just saying.
Odd.
It's a strain, and I've heard from a couple of people. It's because they support 5 or 6 different, patronize 5 or 6 different podcasters. They don't have time to listen to special content.
That makes sense.
Especially if you're like I'm a podcaster. I'm kicking out 25 to 30 minutes a week on my show. We're kicking out an hour a week. Well, really 2 hours a week, but an hour a week publicly for this show. So that's 1.5 hours a week for people to get bored of my dumb ass. But that's a pretty big time commitment if you start thinking about it.
Right. It is. I mean, if you're a patron to someone who is putting out audio, you might, like you said, you might not listen. You might not listen for a couple weeks or a couple months, but save it up until you've got,
that road trip.
Yeah, a road trip, or, I often listen to stuff while I'm, cleaning the house, or I've got a huge day of errands and I just need to keep something going. But yeah, so I get that, but I think it's interesting that it's like half. So it's like half of your people will throw money at you, but they won't. They'll forget their stuff on the counter.
Yeah, pretty much. Brett says Patreon has no recommendations for similar artists based on who you subscribe to. It's a lost opportunity. You're goddamn right. It's a lost opportunity. It's a pain in the ass. It really is. William says the mini patronage model is definitely intriguing. I wonder what the critical mass of audience is for Patreon to start making sense. Mm-hmm. Start making sense. Okay, so let's think about this. Have figured out how to not waste my time. Okay, so the audiobook, the Patreon podcast that they get is ultimately the podcast the public will get. They just may not get it for a year. So basically, I've done the work once. So I'm selling work, not selling, but I'm basically giving them work that I've already done for them, but is actually going to be used for the audiobook, is going to be used for the public. But the thing is, they're basically supporting, since I don't get an advance on that, all the work that goes into, bringing all that to life. and some of them aren't going to listen to it until the official audiobook is out. It's like I said, it's strange how it works, but basically people are paying you to do what you're already doing. And with things like Buy Me a Coffee, which a lot of folks are still kind of ignorant of, it's easy to give a tip to a creator, like a Twitch streamer or something like that, where you know that they're going to get more money from buymeacoffee.com, or you can set up to give you, $2.50, $3 a month to someone as a monthly tip. It's not a whole lot. Let me tell you, long tail really starts to add up after a while. And Patreon, BMAC, Ko-Fi, as long as they don't really, kill you as far as how much time they take up, and you figure out a way to just basically, like Terry's doing, he's giving more or less chapters away of a rough draft, which means it was writing it anyway.
Right.
It's not like it's people are getting exclusive content in the sense that they're getting it long before anybody else does. And they also have a chance to comment on it, which sometimes will save our writer's ass.
Although that's got its own headaches to go along with as well.
Yeah, it does. But, bottom line is you're basically procuring an audience. You have a chance to talk to them a little bit more intimately. They even love text posts. Trust me, pictures of your dog, your cat, your house, anything. Basically, you're just kind of sharing, backstage of what your life is. And that's what kind of, and the content that you produce. It's a good way to get to know your crew.
2 of the Patreons I support belong to authors that are putting out stuff in advance of them publishing it. And I wondered for a while what kind of commentary was acceptable to leave. And I decided that since I'm a supporter of it, if I'm not exactly happy with the way the storyline is going, it's okay to mention, this isn't working for me. But you'll get some pushback from the diehard fans when they don't quite see it the same way. I got some of that last night when one of the authors that I follow, at the end of a long story arc, basically this is a lit RPG thing, he basically does something that causes the main character to lose most of the things that he has, and in many ways have to start over building himself back up again. And it's a trope that he's followed multiple times in several series, and he did it again with the start of this new book. And I complained that, I'd like to see a change at the end of a long story arc where, it's not, oh, here's the hammer destroying everything, let's start building it back up. And somebody's like, you just didn't read it. I'm like, go away.
Talk to the hand.
Talk to the hand. I don't see anything mean, but, if it's not working for me, I'm paying for the privilege of saying, this doesn't work for me.
Yeah, there is some of that. And there are patrons who are going to get really ticked off if you don't give them the content they were promised. Life happens. I've missed weeks. I've missed months because of shit that's gone on. If you're listening to my voice, you can probably tell it's not in the best of shape right now. So I can't really record. So I've got to wait until the voice heals up and the allergies aren't completely kicking my ass to record, which means they're not really getting any content right now. But they've got ebooks to read. They've got other audiobooks to read. They've got tons of them. They've got the original Black series narrated by moi. They've got all of that there, plus the Derelict Saga ins and outs and some other exclusive stuff that no one on the podcast has ever heard. Plenty of content to troll through. So I apologize to them and we move on. And I'll get back to doing things as soon as I can. I'm just not physically able to do them right now. So communication with Patreon or your patrons, supporters, whatever, is a very big deal. If you just walk away for a month without telling them what's going on, they're going to get pissed and people are going to leave. And being kind of consistent in the content will really help you, get them to stick around. So there's a lot of things involved there.
So you got to be have to be consistent. You have to communicate, and you have to be authentic, or as authentic as you are comfortable being online with your, for lack of a better word, fan base.
There are people who play a role. And so behind the scenes is also going to be the role, right? I mean,
yes, I get that. Yeah. Absolutely.
So, I mean, I I'm much more genuine now in public than I used to be, because I used to have the theme master role associated with it and everything else. I don't really do that much anymore. But I know folks who carry the role from the podcast into their private content or their subscriber only content, and it's funny as hell. It really is funny as hell. So because they can get away with stuff that they really can't do or are comfortable doing in public. So there's opportunities for making that kind of content that maybe just doesn't fit anywhere else, and that somebody will find it interesting. Don't plan on making a lot of money on it. Plan on making
no.
some beer money a month. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to. And if you're doing that, you're probably in good shape. It's just there's a strange moment of critical mass you hit where suddenly it's like, $300 or $400 a month, which doesn't sound like a whole lot.
It's a lot.
It starts adding up really fast because it's money you didn't work for at a job. And it's stuff like, for me, I was going to do anyway. So it's basically helping me pay for hardware and helping me pay for, keep up while I'm working on the next book that I'm not getting paid for. So it's made sense for me, and it's been a lifeline for the last couple of years. Financially, it's been a lifeline, believe it or not. So I think the differences between BMAC, Ko-Fi, and Patreon, you can go up to their sites and take a look at them. The differences are Patreon's much more full service. It allows you to store files and everything else. BMAC will allow you to store some files, and Ko-Fi will not allow you to store shit. So for Ko-Fi, you have to have an external source to store your podcast files, images, or whatever it is you're going to store. So it makes Ko-Fi a little bit more of a pain in the ass. So also, I haven't had much luck on Ko-Fi attracting folks. It's pretty silent and dead over there. But BMAC is also kind of silent and dead for various reasons. I think there are more folks on DRS using it than there are on my site. It's just people know Patreon better, and so they're more likely to go to Patreon. So like it or not, you're kind of stuck with the big boy for now. But the others, I mean, I think at some point it's going to reach another thing. I have people give me $30 every now and then on Buy Me a Coffee. Just a tip. Just comes out of nowhere. No expectation, nothing. Just, hey, I've been listening to you for the last 6 months. So I figure you're worth some money here. Okay, fine. It doesn't hurt to hang it out there as a board. If you want to make money on it, you're going to have to work really hard. Really hard if you want to make real money at it. So there's tons of, yes, BMAC equals Buy Me a Coffee. Sorry. So there's ways to do it. Just depends how hard you want to work it, and how much you're into spending time on it. So,
but if you're already spending time on certain things, it may be less of a time investment because you're repackaging content.
Correct.
For a more dedicated audience.
And if you're a writer, these folks become your ARC. They become your advanced readers. They become your canaries in the coal mine, like Terry was talking about. They become the folks who are going to say, hey, wait a minute, you've got a continuity error here or whatever else. And they'll call you out on it, which is what you want to happen before it ends up in print. So it also kind of works in another way. I think it can be very, very helpful. Obviously, there are times when you may have somebody who wants to tell you how to write your book, and then you just have to politely tell them to STFU. But for the most part, it's been pretty painless, and I think folks have really enjoyed it, and I've got a lot of good comments and everything else from the new work and everything that nobody's ever heard of before. Nobody's ever heard other than the patrons, like an ancient trap. So I'm excited to get all that stuff out there and keep going. But Patreon's been a big deal for me. So if you're interested in looking at that stuff, go look at go look at the folks on Patreon who have a really substantial following, especially the podcasters or the writers, and take a look at what they're doing. And even if you're not a podcaster, just recording your thoughts or whatever else, 10 minutes on a microphone on your phone, for instance, could be enough to satiate some people. I know Nathan Lowell does a walk every morning for like 10 or 20 minutes and just basically babbles into a microphone. Dave Robeson does that as well. So there's stuff you can do that's pretty low intensity.
Yeah, I know that there are some narrators. Granted, most of them are like male narrators, but they will get permission from their authors, and they'll do live readings, and that's on the Patreon.
Yeah.
Because for whatever reason, people like to watch people read and perform.
Nobody wants to see me read. Trust me.
I mean, I've done readings like through Discord or whatever, and people do show up. But for me, it's the amount of time I have to put into post-production.
Yes.
And redoing that, and I don't have I don't know if the time spent to do that is going to justify the return, because while I'm gonna tell the story anyway, I'm not necessarily gonna do the video editing or what have you. And quite frankly, if it's on camera, for me that involves there's, as harsh as it is, there are certain expectations. If you are female presenting and on camera, that I probably can't just scrub out in a workout top, yoink my hair up, and go to work, because quite frankly, that's what I do. It's work. And there's no air conditioning in there.
Oh, God.
So,
Right.
I mean, I'm going to
that could appeal to a kind of audience, you know what I mean?
I know, but
Sweaty soccer mom. I can see it now on Pornhub. Sweaty soccer mom.
That's her new Patreon. Sweaty soccer mom reads erotica.
Didn't we say something about, the fine line between Patreon and OnlyFans?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean... Wow.
Hey, you went there first. That's all I'm saying.
I went there, and I didn't get no blame for this. This was me that went there.
Now wait a minute. Brett had a very salient point. He's watched this for a while now, and he has figured out that Terry is the one who always drags us into the gutter and pulls us off topic.
He's the instigator.
90% of the time, it is him.
He's a cat. He causes problems, walks away, and expects others to clean it up. He's a cat.
Now,
I tap the bowl and I see if it falls to the floor. No matter what happens, it's entertaining.
Because I edit these episodes, I get to go back and relive all the stupid shit that he says. Don't pin this on you. Too late. You've been pinned. But he's right, damn it. So every time I sit there and I count, okay, things were going on fine, and then Terry. Oh, then there's V, me, Terry. Mm-hmm. I can count. You were just trouble. You're trouble.
Yeah. And sure, somebody might be amused by that, but are they going to pay me enough to make it worthwhile? And am I going to be consistent enough in putting that content out there?
Well, you got to have a mister in there, right? Just in case it's not hot enough to get this one going.
We could have your own fog machine in there. Just throw some CO2 into the water and watch the fog blow in. No, guess not.
Okay, so what I need to do is start reading on my OnlyFans while I'm in the shower, right? So I'll read from my book while full backle, basically
just for that, Terry.
Full backle.
And yes, grab this.
I'm afraid.
I don't have my reading glasses on. The light's weird. Maybe I should. Maybe we'll do this. Wear the reading glasses.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's right.
If we're gonna...
reading erotica with the librarian glasses on. That's going to catch a certain audience.
Holy shit! I think I saw an advert for that.
Smutty librarians.
I hate you all. Let's. Oh hey, $20 pass from never. What is this? Harry had the team ready to roll in 10 minutes, but stopped when Sandra held up her hand. Is something wrong? Yeah, no, we're not going to go for 30 minutes of that with the
Needs more heavy breathing.
the cat spray bottle for the mister. That would be great. Bad narrator.
Oh my god. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. That's a thing. I know it is.
That's a thing, and if you search on Pinterest, that is a whole like clothing aesthetic.
Oh my god.
Nerdy academic chic is an aesthetic. There are boards devoted to how to style yourself like this. Don't ask how I know.
Probably the same way we do.
Market research.
I like cute clothes. What's wrong with that?
Well, I was making more a comment about the things that you've read, romances and whatnot.
Oh, they're not as tame as that. Sorry.
Okay, well, all right, there you go.
Before we dive completely away from Patreon, one of the things that I've noticed a couple of authors that are doing to get more income on their Patreon, and it's effective, it's gotten me to spend more money on their Patreon, is they'll have the newest of the stuff they're producing go to the highest tier and like say, okay, stuff as it comes hot off the press is at tier X. The next tier down, you're 2 or 3 weeks out, and so on and so forth. So that, if you want to pay less, you can pay less. You're just maybe 6 weeks or a couple of months behind everybody else in what they're reading right at that moment. And it's a way to convince people to pay more for what they're producing, but still accommodate people that don't want to pay that much.
Yeah, what I was doing in we'll probably go back to, but Patreon screwed it up, and I pissed off a lot of people at the $2 level. I have no FOMO. Your early release tactics do not work on me. Basically, what I was doing instant episodes, and still am. So basically, when I get them producing an episode, a chapter, or whatever from the newest book that I'm working on, they get it at the 10 and 5. They get it instantly. And then just $2 people have to wait for them weekly, just like a regular podcast. That's how I did it for the Derelict Saga, and it worked okay until I realized that Patreon wasn't sending out emails when I told the $2 people they could have it. And so it didn't show up in their feeds for like 2 months.
Oh.
And I didn't know about it. So that was uncomfortable and terrible. You're $2, Chuck. The folks at the $5 and $10 level, and there's almost as many of them as there are at the $2 level, they get the full audio books and the ARCs. That's how that works.
And the highest level of subscribers get the versions you recorded with no pants.
Right, because you can so hear a difference.
Yeah, you could. That's what I was going to say. You could so hear a difference. Although now that I have a NAS, I could actually record my readings. Nobody wants that. Sure, unless I'm emotionally invested or you are offering naughty librarians.
So what Brett's saying
I think we may have found Brett's kink right there.
I think we have. Clearly, you need to have whatever you have for your tiers. You have to, kick it up one more and have your naughty librarian level. Whatever that entails for you.
No.
So maybe I should get a naughty librarian's costume to take to 20 books for costume day.
Terry, you're going to get asked to leave again. And I won't be there to stop it this time. Because I'll be going, yep, time for you to leave. It's the stockings that put it over the edge, Terry. It's the stockings.
They're not pronounced stockings. They're pronounced stockings.
Stockings. Don't correct my pronunciation.
It's not the stockings. It's the stockings and the garters.
Well, thanks for putting that image in my skull.
Are they seamed or not seamed?
I think seamed.
I would think so too.
B, you're not helping.
Emma, was I supposed to help? I mean, I'm the one who shows up in the great costumes. I'm taking notes.
Now, Rick, it's not yet another conference Terry can't go to. It's yet another conference Terry's been banned from. There's two very, very different things.
Now, actually, the question is, can you take the librarian piece
Patrick.
and then mash it up with, the inflatable dinosaur?
Oh, holy shit, you broke my brain.
I sense a Chuck Tingle crossover.
Fishnet scene with garters from V's Pinterest on librarians. Yeah, I can see it. I can totally see this. Reader magnets.
Awesome.
Reader magnets for newsletters, for Patreon, for Buy Me a Coffee, for Ko-Fi, for your website, for your podcast, for your YouTube, for your Twitch. Holy shit, can I name a few more? Your Pinterest, your Facebook, your Twitter, your Mastodon, your whatever the hell it is you're on. Some of you are still on
LiveJournal?
Oh my God, LiveJournal.
LinkedIn.
I'm on LinkedIn.
Some people are using it for more social things than business.
MySpace?
Yes, I know, and I wish they fucking quit it. I don't need to know that they got elevated to such a position and you need to buy a car from them now. Fuck you. I'm tired of that shit. Oh, this is an interesting one. Yeah, MySpace. That was the one I was trying to come up with.
Yes,
yeah, LinkedIn is very much alive. Damn it. JR says, what are your thoughts on direct sales via author websites?
I suspect they're fairly low for most people, but some people do it. I know that Tao Wong does that.
Mm-hmm.
I use PayHip to run my store. I gave up on having my own store because this is too much of a nightmare to manage and everything else. So I use PayHip for that because they're, as far as I'm concerned, the least thieving bastards out there. I use them to basically sell the Derelict Saga audiobooks because they're not, I have full rights to them and they're not on Audible in exclusive form. So I sell all the Derelict stuff from there directly, except for the actual books because Severed has those, but I do sell the black trade paperbacks, and that's about it as far as that goes from there that I can do because the ebook is still with Amazon exclusively and will be for quite a while. So there's stuff that you can do, but don't expect to make a whole lot of money on it. Again, it's the critical mass thing. It's the readers who are upset with Amazon finding the author directly. How does that happen? It's the people who want to make sure the author gets the most money. And how does that happen? It's how do you get the word out there that you're important enough for people to buy from you? It's more about the visibility in that game.
Variant Publishing has their own audiobook sales, their own audiobook store for their authors.
Yeah, you cover the taxes, JR. They cover, well, I think they collect state. I can't remember. I need to look.
And one of the things on that is you need to, if you're going to sell stuff directly, as horrible as it sounds, you need to make sure that your audience is savvy enough to do that. No, I know it sounds terrible, but
I write a fact.
I can't load this book on my iPad and I can't read it.
I write a fact.
No, that's
It's
a
a real
legit
thing.
Because
It is.
people will be like, Dave, well, I purchased this product from you, therefore you need to show me how I can, enjoy it.
If you're selling it and it's distributed through BookFunnel, they have their own assistants to help people figure out how to side load it. And it makes sense to go with somebody like that to be the host for the books. I subscribe to the Indie Author magazine, and so every month I get a note that has the links on BookFunnel where I can download whatever my preferred version is. So I know that it is entirely possible to work that into your workflow. And I would suggest doing that if that's what you intend to do. And they also host audio.
Yeah, that's the big thing is I'll be using BookFunnel in the near future. I just haven't had time to set everything up. I've been too busy putting together my goddamn reader magnet.
Sarah says, wait, there's an Indie Author magazine? Why, yes, there is. I'll see if I can find a link and throw it in the Discord.
It's like Sexy Erotic Librarian.
I have not seen that particular issue.
I didn't say it was put out by the same company. Phrasing. I didn't say it was published by the same company.
Wow.
Thanks for joining us, Rick.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
I mean, I know I've bought direct from authors when I wanted signed copies, and
Yeah, yeah,
that,
and
if that's because I want to support the author and I want to make sure I get stuff directly from them. So yeah,
that's
but
what I use on PayHip too. Is I sell copies of Station 3 or Derelict Saga that I've got here. I've got a lot of copies of some things, and not a lot of copies of much else. Like the Black, the originals, they're gone. All I've got is Arrival, I think now. Sierra says, "Wait, I can do the Sexy Librarian and Fat Bastard mashup. We can make bank on OF.
Rule 34.
Have fun with that."
here's your library card.
You're overdue. I'm afraid you're going to have to pay a fine.
Oh, there's gonna be spanking involved. Oh, there has to be spanking involved. And it's got to be with a book, something like Marquis de Sade, something like that. We got to really roll on the irony here. Why are you looking at me like that?
You said Marquis de Sade, and I've seen Equus on stage, and my mind just went someplace else. So yeah.
What a great play.
Oh, it's
What a
awesome.
great
But if
play.
you better know the premise before you walk in, because
What's the matter, honey? You didn't like the naked boy riding the mechanical elusive horse sitting on there on the stage? With his junk hanging out and swinging in the wind?
that wasn't the disturbing part I was talking about. But
Yeah. 101 days of late fees. Oh, I love it. I love it. Oh my God.
I can see a whole series checking her out in the
Ooh.
stacks.
Oh boy. Overdue.
Overdue. Late fees.
Stuffing the book drop off.
Interlibrary loan.
Wow. You need to write this shit. That's gold. 30,000 word stories. That's gold, man.
I need to focus on getting auditions and work. I can't do this right now.
Naughty Librarian makes more goddamn money than audiobook. Sadly.
So, sorry, let me write stuff that I can then narrate. That's what I'll do in between everything else.
I'm writing these titles down.
Well, if you go dressed up as a sexy librarian, I think you'll get more traffic at your booth this year.
I doubt it.
Yeah, but then I can't wear the red dress. I love my red dress.
Plus, it seemed like last year
I bought more red dresses.
It was a good 50%.
Well, why can't you cross it? You could have the sexy librarian in a red dress.
No.
It could work.
We need to get her battle
I do not need to plan more outfits right now. I do not have the budget right now to go shopping and do all of this because other things. And why did this go? We do not need to. This is not a con styling episode, sir. Thank you very much. But yes, for whatever reason, like tabling at conventions, I do well at. And strange enough, all the work I've had so far this year has come from 20 books. So, yay.
That's always a good thing. Oh, no. Why? Why would you say this? Veronica, when will you cosplay Terry?
I think that should be avoided at all costs.
I don't have enough cats.
You two have the Cat Lady starter kit. Well, actually, Terry's got the deluxe edition. He's got the collector's edition.
Mine don't like me enough to be in here on camera. There are other humans in the household they have taken to.
So talking book magnets, since we were speaking about that, the reader magnets.
That's another title.
Book magnets.
Reader magnet.
Yeah, there you go. Even after you produce them.
No, we've heard that's like that's the first book in the series. Reader magnet is the reader magnet for the Naughty Librarian series.
There you go. You think you got it covered. But even after you produce it, there's no telling how many people will actually download it. Even though I've made it available for people to download, only a shockingly small sliver of people actually download it.
Interesting. Chris says, well, one of the issues using one of the competitors to Patreon, would you get less people due to people having lack of knowledge? Yes, absolutely. I get more in tips from Buy Me a Coffee than I do actual patrons on Buy Me a Coffee. And I never know when they're coming.
JR, if you'd have been here for the start of the show, you'd have actually caught that information. So there you are.
Yeah. You can watch after the show's done.
And this is a totally different sort of thing right there.
Whip out those WIPs. Let me just unzip and slap my WIP on the table.
Whip it. Whip it good.
Wow, that's a huge stack of pages.
My, what a rough draft you have.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, things I didn't think about. I should have thought about before I said, but
I
didn't.
totally need to write all these down. That's another good one. Rough draft? Yes, yes.
Yeah, that'll work for your hockey stuff too. They do draft their players, right?
Oh, yeah.
There are authors who already do this with their titles. One of my favorites, La Serena McMaster, who is awesome, and she's awesome at social media, but she writes amazing hockey romance. She started a new series, and the first book in the new series is called Pulling the Goalie.
Ooh.
It's really good. It's really spicy, but double entendres with all of the various terms. It's really good. And also, Game 1 of the Stanley Cup is tonight. I will be rooting for Florida, as I do.
Did you see the map of people rooting for the Vegas Knights?
Yes. All that I know is that my team throws better punches.
The map had Vegas in yellow and had one other part of the country in yellow, and the rest of it was all red for Florida.
It's the Carolinas.
Was all red for Panthers. It was great.
Always make sure your books wear protection. I think that maybe Torn Dust Jacket might be an interesting title.
Just torn jacket, and then the cover could have a cover ripped. Ooh, literally right across the bodice.
Ooh, a bodice ripper. There you go.
Yeah. Naughty librarian meets the naughty editor. No, naughty librarian meets the naughty distributor. Oh God, we broke V.
Somewhere the Dewey Decimal System is going to have to come into this.
That's why I thought of another one was Dewey Decimaled.
Dewey or don't he?
Much. Dewey or Dewey? Hey, I didn't do it. I just work here. Supposedly. Well, we got, we're pretty much out of time.
And we mostly stayed on topic.
Only because I was a bastard and didn't let y'all talk.
Details. Details.
Do we or don't we? Yeah, exactly. Is the distributor from a V8 Rick? Hush. You be quiet. And join us for the post show. Speaking of, if you have a question or comment about this episode, you can send an email to show@deadrobotsociety.com. You can find me at Mastodon. You can find me on Mastodon at Paul_E_Cooley at VYRSE.social. You can find us on Facebook at the Listeners of the Dead Robots Society Facebook group, where Terry mangles all the madness. And yes, I said mangle. You can find us at YouTube at youtube.com/DRS podcast to see way too many cats in our mugs beside that. And if you want to support the show, God, would you please? You can find us at patreon.com/DRS podcast and buymeacoffee.com/DRS podcast, where for as little as $1 a month, you get access to exclusive content like DRS After Dark, which is coming up next in roughly 10 minutes. we're going to get down and dirty. And
Like
if you
the
pledge
librarians.
at the $10 level, you get your name read. And our $10 patrons are Tony L. Joy, Lisa Slack, Isabel Cushy, and Tim Niederreiter. Thank you to all of our patrons for making this show possible. We got one more thing we got to do before we get out of here, and that's to admit to everyone that we have a caffeine problem, and we get our caffeine from corpsecoffee.com. Visit corpsecoffee.com, check out their array of coffees, boutique teas, and check out their wonderfully weird webcomic, and tell them DRS sent you. Visit corpsecoffee.com and get the dead in your cup. And with that, we are getting the hell out of here. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for spending your afternoon with us. Hope you enjoy the show, and we will be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Do they even say that anymore?
No.
Is that like a no?